The ancient Egyptian priests knew a secret. The pharaohs mummified in the pyramids weren't just prepared to overcome death. They were part of something much bigger. This plan was known only to those who had access to the information hidden in the underground sections of the Giza Complex. As modern archaeology discovers tunnel systems that start beneath the Sphinx and spread throughout the entire complex, we're realizing that the ancient Egyptians weren't just master tomb builders. They were underground city architects. Tonight, we're going to uncover the secrets of the ancient world's most mysterious underground complex, because the real Giza isn't above ground, it's hidden below. Let me ask you something. When you see the Great Pyramid, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it just a giant tomb, or could it be the visible part of something much bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because what you're about to learn tonight will completely change how you think about Giza. Our story starts in 1996, but the real drama exploded in 2008. Dr. Zahi Hawass and American geologist Dr. Thomas Dobecki were conducting seismic measurements around the Great Sphinx. Their goal was simple: understand the rock structure beneath the Sphinx and measure ground stability for restoration work. But those seismic waves revealed something unexpected. Directly under the Sphinx, there were large cavities that were completely different from the natural rock formations. The first cavity they discovered was between the Sphinx's front paws, about 9 meters deep. But this was just the beginning. More detailed scans showed that these cavities were connected to each other and formed tunnels running from beneath the Sphinx toward the Great Pyramid. Dr. Dobecki recalls those days. When we got the data back, we first thought it was a measurement error. Because the results showed there was a planned underground system beneath the Sphinx, this meant we had to question everything we knew about Egyptology. What made the discovery even more intriguing was the precision of these underground structures. The cavities weren't random natural formations carved by water erosion. They showed clear signs of deliberate engineering. The walls were straight, the angles were precise, and the dimensions suggested careful planning. This level of organization implied that whoever built these underground chambers had sophisticated surveying and construction techniques. In 2009, with permission from Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities, they did a small drilling operation between the Sphinx's front paws. After the metal probe went 2.5 meters, it hit resistance, a hard surface that could be a wall or door. Even more interesting, the sound echoes from the probe indicated there was a large, empty space on the other side. For the first time, they had definitive proof that there were man-made structures beneath the Sphinx, but this discovery came with a huge mystery. There were no records in any ancient Egyptian texts about chambers or tunnels beneath the Sphinx. Official history said the Sphinx was just a monument statue. So when were these underground systems built? Why and by whom? This became one of the biggest questions modern archaeology had ever faced. The implications were staggering. If the Sphinx had been built over a pre-existing underground complex, it would mean the monument's construction was far more complex than anyone had imagined. It would also suggest that the ancient Egyptians had a much deeper understanding of subterranean architecture than previously believed. This part of our story takes us back 2,500 years to Herodotus, one of the ancient world's greatest travelers. Herodotus visited Egypt around 450 BC and is known as the father of history. His writings are some of the most reliable sources we have about the ancient world. What Herodotus learned in Egypt shows amazing similarities to what modern archaeology is discovering. In his work called Histories, Herodotus writes, "The Egyptian priests told me about the construction of the Great Pyramid. The pyramid was built on water channels that came from underground. These channels came from the Nile and passed beneath the pyramid complex. There were also chambers beneath the Sphinx. These chambers were used for sacred rituals." For centuries, These records were considered legends because the Giza Plateau is in the middle of the desert, miles from the Nile, and having underground water sources seemed impossible. But Herodotus provided even more detailed information that scholars had dismissed as fantasy. He wrote about Egyptian priests, taking him to see the beginning of the underground passages and describing rituals performed in chambers where the sun's light never reaches. He mentioned that these underground areas were connected by a network of waterways that once flowed from the Nile during the annual floods, creating a sacred underground landscape. In 2010, Dr. Robert Schoch's geological research proved Herodotus was right. Ground-penetrating radar scans showed there really were water channels beneath the Giza Complex. These channels were from thousands of years ago when the Nile flowed in a different path. But what was even more surprising was that these ancient water channels connected to the cavities beneath the Sphinx. Herodotus also writes, "The Egyptians told me that during the Great Pyramid's construction, the king's body was kept in these underground chambers. When construction was finished, the body was taken up and placed in the actual burial chamber. But the underground chambers weren't left empty. Sacred objects and treasures were stored there." This account perfectly matches the underground system modern archaeology has discovered. The ancient historian also mentioned something that modern researchers find particularly intriguing. He described Egyptian priests who were keepers of the underground, a special class of religious officials, whose sole responsibility was maintaining and protecting the subterranean chambers. These priests, according to Herodotus, possessed knowledge that was never written down but passed orally from generation to generation. How reliable do you think ancient sources are? Herodotus wrote these things 2,500 years ago, and now they're being proven with technology. Is this just coincidence, or were ancient people way more knowledgeable than we thought? Share your thoughts in the comments. 2017 was a turning point for Giza underground research. The Scan Pyramids project brought together NASA, Nagoya University, and the Egyptian government. The technologies they used were unimaginable in previous generations of research: cosmic ray, muon tomography, thermal cameras, 3D LiDAR scanning, and advanced ground-penetrating radar systems. The first major discovery came inside the Great Pyramid. Muon tomography showed there was a large, previously unknown void above the king's chamber. This chamber was as big as the Grand Gallery and was probably connected to the main pyramid system through a hidden passage. But the real shock came in the underground scans that followed these internal discoveries. Dr. Mehdi Tayyoubi, leader of the Scan Pyramids project, made this statement: "After discovering the hidden chamber inside the pyramid, we applied the same technologies to the entire Giza complex. The results exceeded our expectations. There's an underground network that starts beneath the Sphinx and spreads across the entire plateau. This system isn't just natural, it's clearly the work of human engineering." The scale of what they discovered was breathtaking. The underground network wasn't limited to a few chambers. It was a vast system covering several square kilometers. Initial estimates suggested that the underground complex might be even larger than the surface structures of the pyramids themselves. Thermal imaging technology is really effective at detecting underground voids. Chambers and tunnels underground give off different thermal signatures than the solid rocks around them. Thermal scans done in 2018 showed temperature anomalies at regular intervals around the Sphinx. These anomalies pointed to planned underground architecture. What made these thermal readings particularly interesting was their pattern. The temperature variations weren't random. They formed geometric shapes that suggested deliberate room and corridor layouts. Some areas showed circular patterns that might indicate domed chambers, while others revealed long, straight lines that clearly represented tunnel systems. The most striking discovery came from 3D LiDAR scanning. This technology measures above ground, structures with millimeter precision, and when combined with underground radar, it can create three-dimensional underground maps. The LiDAR map, completed in 2019, showed there was approximately 15 kilometers of tunnel system underground at the Giza Complex. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these technological discoveries was how they revealed the sophistication of ancient Egyptian engineering. The underground network showed evidence of ventilation systems, drainage channels, and structural supports that demonstrated a level of subterranean architectural knowledge that rivaled modern capabilities. This is where our story gets to its most exciting part, because the underground system revealed by modern technology isn't just a few rooms or tunnels. The evidence points to a complete underground city beneath the Giza Complex. Dr. Carmen Bolter, an Egyptologist from the University of Calgary, makes this observation. The data we have shows an underground system that starts beneath the Sphinx and extends to the Great Pyramid, then to the Khafre and Menkaure pyramids. This system isn't just storage space. It has large halls, multiple corridors, and complex room sequences. This is big enough to be described as an underground city. When the ground-penetrating radar data is analyzed, the underground system includes these components. The main tunnel system starts beneath the Sphinx and goes east for about 800 meters. This main tunnel connects to the Great Pyramid's foundation level, the Great Pyramid connection. At the bottom of the pyramid, there are hidden chambers different from the known rooms. These chambers open into the main tunnel system. The Khafre connection. The second pyramid is also connected to the underground system. In fact, they detected a hidden chamber continuing from the known descending passage inside the pyramid. Recent analysis has revealed even more complexity. The underground city appears to have multiple levels, like a modern building with several floors. The upper level consists of larger chambers and main corridors, while deeper levels contain smaller, more specialized rooms. This vertical organization suggests the complex was designed to serve different functions at different depths. The most interesting discovery is the connection between the Sphinx and the Nile. The ancient water channels aren't just natural formations. They were expanded with human intervention and organized to meet the water needs of the underground city. This shows that the ancient Egyptians were much more skilled in hydraulic engineering than we thought. Archaeological evidence suggests that this underground complex wasn't just a burial preparation area or storage facility. The size and organization of the chambers indicate it was designed for active use by living people. Some researchers theorize it might have served as a priest training center, a sacred initiation complex, or even a refuge during times of political instability. How could such a huge underground system stay hidden? What do you think the ancient Egyptians built this complex for? Was it just tomb preparation, or did they have other purposes? Write your theories. I'll read the most creative comment in my next video. Since 2010, the Egyptian government has been restricting researcher access to certain areas of the Giza Complex. The official reason for these restrictions is conservation concerns, but the real reasons are much more complex. Dr. Mark Lehner from the University of Chicago and an archaeologist who's worked at Giza for 40 years explains, when the underground discoveries started after 2008, the government's attitude changed. Many areas that were previously open got closed off. The small door behind the Sphinx is now sealed so nobody can enter. The official explanation is for protection, but we researchers are curious about what's behind that door. This small door is actually a narrow passage behind the Sphinx that was discovered in the 1980s. Researchers who went inside back then reported that the passage ended after a short distance, but radar scans done in 2009 showed the passage continues but was artificially sealed. The restrictions became even tighter after some preliminary explorations yielded unexpected results. In 2011, a team led by Dr. Robert Bauval was granted limited access to some underground areas. What they found there was apparently significant enough that all further access was immediately suspended. Dr. Bauval has been unable to discuss the specifics of what they discovered, citing legal agreements with the Egyptian government. The most controversial forbidden zone is the subterranean chamber beneath the Great Pyramid. This chamber is at the deepest point inside the pyramid and is officially described as unfinished. But Dr. Robert Bauval's 2015 examination showed the chamber wasn't unfinished. It had passages that were deliberately sealed. The most striking restriction happened during the Scan Pyramids project in 2017. The Muon detectors showed there were large voids behind the walls of the subterranean chamber. The team applied for official permission to examine these areas, but the request was denied. Dr. Kunihiro Morishima, a physicist from Nagoya University, commented, "Our data is very clear. There are at least 3 large voids behind the subterranean chamber. These voids aren't natural formations, they're geometrically regular, but we couldn't get permission to examine them." Adding to the mystery, several international research teams have reported similar difficulties. German and French archaeological missions have complained about sudden permit cancellations and restricted access to areas they had previously been allowed to study. This pattern of increasing secrecy has sparked speculation about what might be hidden in these forbidden zones. So why all the secrecy? One theory is that the discovered underground system contains findings that would turn ancient Egyptian chronology upside down. If the structures beneath the Sphinx and pyramids turn out to be older than the structures above them, Egyptian civilization's history will have to be rewritten. Giza's underground system is amazing, not just for its size, but also from an engineering perspective. Modern research shows that the techniques ancient Egyptians used in underground construction were advanced even by today's standards. The first marvel is the tunnel construction technique. Dr. Christopher Dunn, a precision machining engineer and ancient technology expert, gives this analysis. "When I examined the tunnel walls beneath the Sphinx, I saw that the cutting marks resembled modern machine work. These tunnels weren't dug with manual tools. The ancient Egyptians used advanced cutting technologies we don't know about. The precision of the underground construction is particularly remarkable. Laser measurements of the tunnels show they maintain perfect straightness over hundreds of meters, with deviation tolerances that would be challenging even with modern surveying equipment. The wall surfaces are smooth and uniform, suggesting the use of advanced cutting tools rather than primitive hammers and chisels. The geometry of the tunnels is also surprising. The main tunnel, about 800 meters long, runs in a perfectly straight line. GPS measurements show the deviation is less than 2 centimeters. This precision is at the level of modern tunneling technology. The second marvel is the acoustic properties of the underground chambers. Sound tests conducted by Dr. John Reed in 2018 showed perfect ecosystems, especially in the area described as the Great Hall. These chambers were designed with acoustic engineering in mind. Sound wavelengths are optimized. If the ancient Egyptians used these chambers for ritual purposes, they really knew their sound effects. Recent acoustic analysis has revealed even more sophisticated features. Some chambers appear to have been designed to amplify specific sound frequencies while dampening others. This selective acoustic engineering suggests the chambers were built for particular types of vocal or musical performances, possibly related to religious ceremonies or initiations. The third marvel is the ventilation system. Oxygen level measurements in the underground complex show there's natural air circulation. This means the complex was designed with ventilation shafts and airflow channels. Dr. Robert Schoch's geological examination. This underground system was designed for long-term use. It wasn't just a burial area. It was planned as an active living space. The biggest engineering marvel is the water system. The ancient channels don't just carry water, they also maintain the humidity balance of the underground complex. There's a climate control system similar to modern HVAC systems. The water management system includes drainage channels, collection basins, and what appear to be filtration areas that would have kept the underground environment habitable and comfortable. This part of our story focuses on ancient Egypt's social structure and the priest class's secret knowledge. Because such a complex underground system required not just construction skills, but deep knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and spirituality. Ancient Egyptian texts mention that priests possessed secret knowledge, Heka. This knowledge was only taught to the elite priest class and passed down through generations. Modern discoveries suggest this secret knowledge might have been related to the design and use of the underground complex. The pyramid texts, Egypt's oldest religious texts, contain detailed descriptions of the underworld. In these texts, the underworld called Duat is described not just as a place where the dead pass through, but as a realm accessible to the living. The Ra's Night Journey section describes the sun god's journey through the underground to travel east. This description has surprising similarities to the east-west-oriented main tunnel of the Giza underground system. Dr. Joanne Fletcher, Egyptologist, at the University of York, the pyramid text's underground journey descriptions might be describing actual places. Terms like Great Hall, water passages, secret doors match the discoveries underground at Giza. The texts also contain references to chambers of transformation, where initiates would undergo spiritual trials. These descriptions include details about traveling through dark passages, crossing water, and emerging into illuminated chambers, a journey that closely matches the layout of the underground complex beneath Giza. The coffin texts have more detailed information. These texts mention priests performing underground rituals and using secret chambers for these rituals. A text written around 2000 BC says, "In the perfect underground chamber, under the protection of the Sphinx, eternal knowledge is kept." Chapter 64 of the Book of the Dead is called Coming Forth by Day and describes rituals for emerging from underground to the surface. The passages described in this chapter match the route from beneath the Sphinx to the pyramids, according to modern radar data. What's particularly intriguing is that these ancient texts describe not just the physical layout of underground chambers, but also the spiritual and psychological journey that would take place within them. This suggests that the underground complex was designed as an integrated experience, combining physical architecture with spiritual transformation. Could these details in ancient texts be coincidental, or were the priests really using the underground complex? How do you think this secret knowledge could have been preserved until today? I'm curious about your thoughts on this. In 2019, a document leaked to WikiLeaks contained surprising information about the Giza underground discoveries. These documents, containing internal correspondence from Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities, painted a very different picture from official statements. In one document, Dr. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Ministry of Antiquities, wrote, "The full size of the chambers beneath the Sphinx is now understood. This discovery cannot be shared with the public, because the findings would invalidate current Egyptological theories." Another document stated that discoveries made in 2018 were classified due to national security sensitivities. The leaked documents revealed a pattern of deliberate information suppression that went beyond simple conservation concerns. Internal memos discussed the strategic revelation of discoveries, carefully timing announcements to maximize tourism revenue while minimizing academic disruption. One memo specifically mentioned concerns about premature disclosure affecting Egypt's cultural heritage monopoly. The most controversial document was a 47-page report titled Underground Complex Assessment Report. This report was prepared only for Egyptian officials and included these findings. The main complex beneath the Sphinx is 3 times larger than estimated. Ancient technology examples were found in the complex, machines whose purpose is not yet understood. Part of the tunnel system is not natural, but built with processed metal materials. The deepest levels of the complex haven't been reached yet. Metal barriers were encountered. Even more intriguingly, the report mentioned the discovery of inscribed materials in unknown script and mechanical devices of uncertain function. These findings apparently prompted consultations with international experts who were required to sign strict non-disclosure agreements. Dr. Robert Bauval commented on these documents. If these documents are real, there's a much bigger discovery at Giza than we know about. But this discovery isn't being shared with the academic world. This is unacceptable in terms of scientific transparency. Another leak came in 2020. This time, files containing discovery photos fell onto the internet. The photos showed ancient wall writings, symbols, and incomprehensible objects in chambers beneath the Sphinx. The Egyptian government labeled these photos as fake, but image analysis experts determined they were authentic. The leaked images revealed chambers with elaborate decorations, including wall paintings that appeared to be in excellent condition. Some images showed what looked like technological equipment, objects with smooth, manufactured surfaces that seemed out of place in an ancient Egyptian context. The secrecy at Giza has also sparked international conspiracy theories. Some researchers claim the discovery has not just archaeological, but technological dimensions. Dr. Stephen Greer, UFO researcher and founder of the Disclosure Project, makes this claim. The discoveries underground at Giza include examples of ancient advanced technology. These technology samples are being kept secret by world powers because they could change current energy and technology systems. According to these claims, the metal objects found beneath the Sphinx aren't just ancient artifacts but functioning technological devices. These devices are allegedly powered by energy generation, anti-gravity, or unknown physics principles. Some conspiracy theorists point to the involvement of international space agencies in the Giza research as evidence of non-terrestrial connections. They argue that NASA's participation in the Scan Pyramids project indicates the discoveries have implications beyond archaeology. More moderate researchers propose a different conspiracy theory. According to this theory, the discoveries would increase Egypt's historical and cultural importance so much that the country is slowly revealing discoveries to maximize tourism revenue. Dr. Graham Hancock, author of Fingerprints of the Gods. The Giza discoveries show that ancient civilizations were much more advanced than we thought. This requires rewriting all the history books. It's normal for institutional resistance to oppose such big changes. There's also a theory that the underground complex contains evidence of a much older civilization that predates known Egyptian history. This lost civilization theory suggests that the Sphinx and pyramids were built on the foundations of much more ancient structures, possibly dating back 10,000 years or more. As of 2023, Giza underground research continues, but in very limited ways. The Egyptian government states it's taking a slow and careful approach. Dr. Zahi Hawass summarizes the current situation. The underground complex is so large that full exploration will take decades. Rather than rushing and causing damage, we prefer systematic progress. But many questions remain unanswered for researchers. When was the underground complex built? If it was built before the pyramids, how will Egyptian history change? Why can't we reach the deepest levels of the complex? What do the metal barriers mean? Is the secret knowledge in ancient texts really related to this complex? How did the priest class use this complex? Recent technological advances offer hope for future discoveries. New ground-penetrating radar systems can penetrate much deeper than previous generations of equipment. Quantum sensors are being developed that could identify specific materials and structures with unprecedented precision. Can modern technology answer these questions? A new research project planned to start in 2024 will use more advanced muon tomography and quantum sensors. These technologies can detect voids at deeper levels and analyze the composition of metal objects. International collaboration is also expanding. Japanese, German, and French institutions are developing new archaeological technologies specifically for the Giza Complex. These partnerships may help overcome some of the political barriers that have limited research in recent years. The potential for revolutionary discoveries remains enormous. Conservative estimates suggest that less than 10% of the underground complex has been properly explored. Each new technological advancement brings the possibility of uncovering chambers, artifacts, or information that could fundamentally change our understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. So what do you think? What questions about the Giza underground complex are you most curious about? If you could enter this complex, what would you want to research first? I'll answer the most interesting questions in my next video. Our story ends here, but the real story isn't over yet, because the underground secrets of the Giza complex get deeper with every discovery. The secret the ancient Egyptian priests knew still hasn't been completely solved today. Modern technology has proven there's a large underground system beneath the Sphinx, but the purpose, function, construction date, and full dimensions of this system remain mysterious. Maybe the ancient Egyptians built this complex for a purpose we can't yet understand. Maybe the pharaoh's search for immortality wasn't limited to mummification, but aimed to create eternal life underground. One thing is certain. The pyramids and Sphinx we see at Giza are just the visible part of something much bigger. The real Giza is hidden underground. And this secret shows that ancient Egyptian civilization was much more advanced and mysterious than we knew. What we've discovered so far suggests that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge and capabilities that we're only beginning to appreciate. Their understanding of engineering, astronomy, and perhaps even physics may have exceeded what we previously thought possible for their time period. Herodotus's words from 2,500 years ago are even more meaningful today. Egypt is the center of secret knowledge in the world, but this knowledge only opens to those who are ready. Maybe our modern technology has finally become ready to discover this ancient knowledge. The underground complex beneath Giza represents more than just an archaeological wonder. It's a testament to human ingenuity, spiritual aspiration, and the eternal quest for understanding our place in the universe. As we continue to uncover its secrets, we're not just learning about the past, we're discovering new possibilities for our future. The ending of this story is up to you. Write these things in the comments. What theory about the Giza underground complex are you most curious about? What do you think the ancient Egyptians really used this complex for? Which secret chamber would you most want to see opened? What other topics about these discoveries are you curious about? I'll read the most interesting comments in my next video and do detailed research on that topic, because this story continues with your curiosity. And remember, ancient secrets are waiting to be solved. Modern technology has opened the doors, but the real discovery is just beginning. The truth underground at Giza will come to light soon. In our next video, we'll cover the topic you're most curious about. So, I'm waiting for your comments.